Hey, I'm so glad you guys joined me today. Thank you so much. For those of you that are just joining us, I'm Angela Brown. I'm the CEO of Savvy Cleaner. And for the last 32 years, I focused on leaving the world a better place by leaving it clean. Now, today we're streaming to a couple of different audiences. We're also speaking to our professional organizing group and everybody that's focused since the pandemic focused on cleaning those scary rooms in the attics and the closets and all the stuff that has extra clutter. So I was really excited when I learned that there's a guest that could come on our show today and teach us how to have a happy home. Is it possible? The answer is yes, it is. And she's going to share with us her journey about how she went from having an ordinary home to a happy home. And she's going to share with us some secrets and some actionable tips on how you can too. So I'm going to ask you to jump in and on the comments section, add your comments and add your questions because we're here for 1 hour, only 1 hour, and we're going to be able to answer as many of them as we can. So please help me welcome the happy home specialist, Rebecca West.
Hello,
Rebecca, how are you
everybody.
today?
Oh, I'm so good, and I'm so excited to have this conversation. Thank you so much, Angela.
Well, thanks for being here today. Now, I got to start all the way back. There was a time when your home was ordinary and you decided to turn it into a happy home. Tell me the story and tell me all about how it happened and how you got where you are today.
Yeah, I have a lot of home stories, but the one that was really what is it? Pivotal? The one that was really pivotal was about 15 years ago. I got divorced, like many of us do, and I was blessed because I got to keep the house I had with my ex-husband, but I was trapped in this house that was filled with all these memories of my past marriage. And basically, I just felt like it was staring at me and making me feel like a failure in my own life. And so I transformed that entire house on a newly divorced woman's budget. And it was truly transformative because I felt like instead of being trapped by my past, I was looking at my future. And then that led to me going, wow, our homes are really, really important to our like emotional and mental well-being. And people should know this. And then that's when I launched an interior design company so that I could help other people have the tools that I had discovered for myself.
Well, I love that answer. And I want to go back to just a second. You said you were going through a divorce. Now, divorce did not normally mean like, hey, I'm shouting with joy. I'm at the happiest moment of my life, right? It's usually kind of a sad, reflective sort of time. What during that time made you decide that home is where I want to be happy? And because I'm here, I want to turn this into a happy place. What was it that made you make home the happy place at that point of your life when that's not the normal situation?
You know, I think it's because I grew up in the military, and by growing up in the military, if there's any other Army brats out there, you know that setting up home is a big part of constantly moving, right? So my parents did a really good job of, within 2 weeks, our homes would be set up and we would feel like we were home, even though we were in a new state, new school, new country, whatever it was. So I'd always been aware that my environment mattered. And I'm also the kind of person where if my surroundings aren't tidy, my brain isn't tidy. Like I cannot sit down and work if the room is messy. So I'd already had some awareness that was the case. I'm also the kind of person who asked for a room makeover when I was 13. So I was already kind of cued into my spaces, but it wasn't the first thing that occurred to me when I got divorced. And it really wasn't until maybe, I don't know, 2 or 3 months post divorce that something just shook me. And I said, I can't keep feeling like this. I cannot keep coming home and feeling like a failure. And I was working from home. I was trying to start a business. I was renting out rooms in my home. So I was always home. And there's that moment when you just hit a wall, you hit your wit's end and say, I just refuse to keep living like this. And I
Mhm.
didn't at the time know what that would take. I didn't know what it would take to make me feel differently. I just knew something had to shift. So honestly, if I'm being honest with everybody, I went through some terrible design phases because I was so desperate. I just went into the garage and I grabbed old paint. And what I had was this nearly black paint. And I painted my vaulted ceilings nearly black. Then I grabbed
Whoa.
some other old paint, which was lime green, and I did this faux finish on this one wall. I mean, it looked like a haunted house in the first
Wow.
round, but it was so great because it was so terrible that it kind of broke me free of
Mhm.
the space, right? It was so bad that it definitely wasn't my divorced home. And it was so bad that I clearly couldn't keep living like that either. And so then I got intentional about it. I was like, okay, well, what do I want to live in? Where do I want to live? How do I want to feel? And I bought paint for myself, and I bought it in soft pinks and purples. And I made this, my now husband called it my dollhouse. I made the whole thing
Mm.
feminine and so me. If anybody's seen the Barbie movie, and like that was, she's like, this is my house. This isn't your house. This is my space. And that's what I needed. I needed a space where I would heal and where I wasn't tending to somebody else's needs or accommodating them. And that was amazing. And then after a while, I no longer needed my like feminine cocoon, like my no boys allowed girl house. And I started shifting it again so that it would be a little bit more gender neutral as I was ready to start dating. And that's when I met my now husband. And the thing about homes is they're never done, right? They should be
Mhm.
following us through our chapters. And so that was that chapter of my home and my life.
One thing that I heard you say, and I think it's really important, is that you got to a place where you realize, I don't want to live like this anymore.
Yeah,
And there are a lot of people that are on our call today that are in that exact spot where they don't want to live in their house anymore because it's not the representation of who they are today. Maybe that's who they
exactly.
were at one point, but that's not who they are today or where they're going. And so if they're looking towards the better version of themselves, the home that they're living in is not that best representation. And where
Yeah,
you said, I couldn't live like this any longer. There was something intrinsically about what you're doing that made you say, no, wait, I'm not going any further living like this. And so
exactly.
whether it's clutter or whether it's paint or whether it's moving to a whole new house. And I love the fact that you started with what you had. And I want to just hone in on that for a second, because
Yeah,
it's really easy to say, well, I can't live like this. I need a new house. And then you're not going to be happy until you have the new house. You're like, I'm not going to be happy until I go out to my garage and find out whatever it is I have. Oh, it's black. That's all right. I'll see if I can make it work. And you
yeah,
tried. And then I got lime green. I don't know where the lime green came from, but green and black and whatever. And okay, I'm just going to express myself. And boom, here it is. Oh, well, whoop, that's not it either. But
yeah,
you started with what you had, with the resources that you had to try to make a difference. And
yeah.
I love that. I think that's amazing. I'm going to give you a happy bell. This is my happy bell. This
Yay!
is I know. It sits on my desk, and every time I look up, I see happiness. I love it. Speaking of happy, I want to interrupt us for just a second. I want to say hi to all of our friends. We got a whole bunch of friends that have joined us here. We have Eve from Chester, UK. Hey, Eve, good to see you. We got Jody here from Minnesota. We have Heather. We have Julie Bean. Looking forward to today's topic. This is great, you guys. We've got Grammar 82, and that's from Stephen Maid Service in Wisconsin. We've got Alan is here. We have Colleen from Los Angeles, California. Hi, guys. This is so awesome. We've got Catherine from Ireland. We have Grammar again. We've got Parasor. Hello, all. We've got Richard here. And I think I just made Richard disappear. Nope, he's got a cleaning question. Richard, I will answer that in the notes after we're done here. I would love to answer that when I can give that the attention it deserves. We've got Stephanie here and Nicole. This is so awesome, you guys. We have Akio from Japan. We've got Peach's family who's going to start their own business. I love this. You guys, this is so awesome. We have Chris. Chris, I'll get back with you in the notes when we're done about your cleaning question as well. We've got Cindy here from Texas. You guys, this is fantastic. I really appreciate you guys. We've got Jenny Clark here. Hey, Jenny, good to see you. You guys, it's so awesome that you guys are here, and I appreciate you guys jumping in to say hello and to spread the love, okay? Because what we're talking about today is really important. It's taking the place that you live. Your home is a safe place. If you're a professional cleaner, when you go to someone else's home, that is their safe place. And if you are in a place where your home is not the place that you want it to be, do not lose hope. You're not alone, but there is hope, okay? And Rebecca's going to tell us how to create a happy home. All right, Rebecca, I love this. All right, so if we have a cluttered house, and maybe during the pandemic we bought a few too many things online, or maybe we inherited things from our parents, or maybe our kids that have moved away. How do we start with the clutter first, cleaning up the clutter so that we can turn it into a happy, healthy home?
I mean, yeah, I mean, that is the place to start. We have to, if we're trying to create a happy home, frequently the first step is to clear out what isn't making us happy to begin with. And that's often stuff from past chapters of our lives. So it's not necessarily that they were bad things or are bad things, they just don't fit us now. And unfortunately, things have a way of flowing themselves into our lives, but they don't flow themselves out of our lives. So we have to do that really like purposefully. I like to start with a place of thinking about the future that you want. That's what I did when I was stuck in my home is I feel like this rather than dwelling on how I am feeling, thinking about how I want to feel, and then trying to identify either a few things that or like a room in my house that would be deeply connected to feeling that way, or identifying some things in my house that are giving me the opposite feeling, right? Trying to start with some really low hanging fruit, easy wins. I remember there was a client that I was helping and she wanted help with her bedroom. She was feeling not good in it. And a lot of times when people have these conversations with me, they don't have specifics. They're just like, no, I don't know. I just don't feel good. It's like going to the doctor. I don't know. I just feel icky.
Mhm.
And then it's the doctor or me as the design doctor's job to help identify why. But after our work together, the main thing she did was move one tall bookcase out of her bedroom, put it on the curb for free. And she said that the difference of how light she felt before and after was night and day because that bookcase came from an old relationship. So it was a
Mm.
perfectly lovely bookcase, nothing wrong with it, except for that every time she'd look at it, she was brought back to these unhappy memories. And it was the first thing she was waking up to when she opened her eyes every morning and the last thing she'd see going to bed. And the psychological impact of that stupid bookcase was too much for her. But we all get stuck. She needed basically permission to get rid of
Mhm.
this perfectly good bookcase.
Well, and permission is an interesting topic that you bring up. I know that in my own house, my husband loves to collect things because he paid good money for them.
Yes,
And so just because we had a bookcase that we've had for 20 years doesn't mean we need to keep it for another 20 just because we paid good money for it, right?
exactly.
And if we are in the house looking at the bookshelf, he doesn't want to let it go because like I'm looking at it and I see that it's real wood. And so therefore I can't let it go because not only is it cost a lot of money, but it's very well built. Where am I
Yeah.
ever going to find another well built bookshelf, right? But if I'm out walking and we're talking about other things in nature and I mentioned the bookshelf, he's disconnected from it enough that I can say, "Are you done with that bookshelf?" And he says, "Oh, yeah, I think I'm done with it."
Mm,
And once I get permission to let it go, I've done the exact thing that you just mentioned, where I just take a picture of it. I put it outside in the driveway after he's gone to work. And then I say, "Hey, it's free. You want to come get it? It's yours." And then first come, first serve. It's gone within like 20 minutes,
yeah.
right? But I've gotten rid of a bunch of stuff. I call it my driveway clear out because I'll ask while we're out walking. And when he's disconnected from it and he has a chance to think about it, and I don't really think I'm using it. I think I'm done with it. Once I get permission, I don't ask again. And I hurry and I
Smart.
get rid of it before he changes his mind and then decides he really does want it and he's going to hang on to it for forever. But I'm at a point of my life where just because my grandparents had something for their whole lives and then my parents had it for their whole lives, I don't need to have it for my whole life just because there's a lot of different choices out there,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
so giving permission, like you said, where do you draw that line and you say, I'm going to give myself permission to have a pink or a purple room like you did with your dollhouse?
Well, and you also have to give yourself permission to get it wrong. Sometimes we do get it wrong. I made some serious errors with paint in my house as I was figuring out my new career, right? Because I experimented on myself, not on my clients. And recognizing that getting things wrong in life is just part of being alive and it doesn't mean it's the end of the world.
Mm,
So you might get rid of something and later go, I wish I'd held on to that and still be okay, right? Still
mhm,
be like, oh, yeah, I did misjudge that. For me, in addition to the permission, it comes to a place of gratitude and generosity. I want to be able to walk through my house and only feel gratitude for the things I own, which means that I can't be holding on to things that make me feel icky.
Mm.
And then I want to be generous and not hold on to things I'm not using, because that feels ungenerous to me. Like, oh, I'm holding on to this. Why? When somebody else could make really good use of it. We're moving to Paris and we're selling everything. And this is really
Wow.
hard for me because I love my stuff. Like, I'm really intentional about what's in my house. We're holding on to our treasured mementos, our scrapbooks, the things that we are irreplaceable, but I'm letting go of everything. And it's because I want to start off this new chapter of my life from a place of generosity rather than fear.
So will you sell your things? Will you give them away? You're taking just the bare minimum? What are you doing?
Combination. So we're going to be putting everything into 3 piles. There's going to be the pile of, if we stay in Europe long term, we'd ship this stuff to ourselves.
Okay.
Because right now it's a 2-year plan for how long we'll live there, and then we don't know. Then there'll be the pile of, if we bail and come back in 2 months, we want this stuff accessible. And then there's the pile of everything we're letting go. And so we found somebody who just bought a house, and they're buying almost all of our furniture because they are going from a 1-bedroom house to an 8-bedroom house. And they're like,
Oh,
oh
wow.
crap, we need stuff. And then I'm doing a house cooling instead of a house warming. And we're going to have all of our friends come over and have them take some of the mementos that we don't want to keep, but that we don't want to just drop off at Goodwill. We'd like somebody to give them a new story.
I love that. So what happens if you decide to move and you said you have a bail option where you decide
Yeah.
to come back? What would be the circumstance? Would it be job related? Would it be family related? You
Mm.
just get homesick?
Well, so it's coming a little bit from a place of fear for me. I was in the Peace Corps when I got out of college, and I lived in Nicaragua, and it wasn't a great fit for me. It
Mm,
was not a great experience. So the one time that I have been an expat on my own was not a roaring success. The circumstances this time are completely different. I have an amazing partner, life partner, travel partner. I have a career that has meaning because I'm a business coach to other interior designers. So I don't think we're going to bail, but I know now that you don't know when you do something this big in your life, you don't know the outcome. And so I'm just trying to give myself permission, like we were talking about earlier, to not control. I mean, I can't control the outcome anyway. So, like,
mhm.
be more open to what's coming. It's just too big of a change in my life to know what's on the other side of it. Does that make
Well, let me
sense?
ask you a really weird question. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. So let's say that you move over to Europe, and we've got lots of friends here from Europe. So, hey, all of our European
I
friends,
know. I'm your neighbors, guys.
what happens if you go to Europe and you decide being over there that this is a new chapter of your life, and instead of bringing all of the elements from your old life, that you just completely start over and you say, hey, wow, that's what they have here, and this is the decor for this area, and I'm going to start over again. I'm going to do something new and start fresh because it is a fresh start, but starting over fresh instead of bringing all of the stuff that you used to have overseas with you and then pay a fortune to ship and
Yeah, especially because I have been
reposition it.
learning about shipping, and apparently it's very expensive and fraught with challenges. So you're saying, just how does that feel if I start from scratch like that?
Yeah, what's see, here's the thing, and this is what where I think of this. I've gone on a lot of trips, and I travel, like 6 vacations a year. I'm really fortunate, and I like to go all over the world, and when I get to other places of the world, I always ask myself this question:
Yeah.
"If I were to stay here right now with the stuff that I have with me right now, could I survive?" And my answer is always yes, because I always take 2 laptops with me, and I've got my my online business with me. Yeah, I
Yeah.
could make it work. So, are you gonna, like, die without all your stuff? Like, how
No.
connected are we to our stuff? And I think being in the house with all the stuff, I'm like, "Oh, yeah, I feel like I'm at home." But I've been in other cities and other places where I totally felt at home, and I'm like, "I think I could do this."
Yeah, and it reminds me a little bit of your story with your husband, and the permission aspect of, once we're away from our stuff, we
Mhm.
do not feel nearly as attached to our stuff.
Right.
So it's only the letting go, honestly, that's hard. And then once you do, it's sort of like if you pay a bill. After you pay the bill, it doesn't hurt anymore. Paying the
Mhm.
bill hurts a lot.
Right.
Um, and I do believe in fresh starts, and it may come from the fact that I grew up military. I like wiping the slate clean and getting a chance to completely reinvent myself. After my divorce, I chose my own last name. It's not a family name or anything. West was my own invention. I like these opportunities to think, who am I going to be in this next chapter? I like to reinvent my wardrobe. So shopping at Goodwill is my favorite thing because I can totally start from scratch without paying new prices.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, I actually want to embrace exactly what you're describing. Let's start from scratch. And I think that's important because our homes get a vote as well, right? The geography of where our home is affects what should be in them or what feels right in them, what colors they're going to be. And living in Europe, it's all about small spaces, and we're treading steps that have been walked by people over hundreds of years. It's a completely different culture. And so I don't want to bring my American habits and my American lifestyle to Paris completely. I do want some of the comforts of home because we are all about comfort and convenience in America. But I also really want to experience smaller living, daily shopping. They don't have big American fridges, they don't have big American sized appliances. You are much more living in the moment there with your daily and weekly grocery shopping and things like that. And I'm not going to be going to Costco and stocking up on 6 months of toilet paper and cat litter, which means that I'm going to be hauling cat litter up 6 flights of stairs. Working out, I won't need a home gym because there's 6 flights of stairs between the street and my apartment. So, yeah, I don't want to just transplant my American experience. I want to find out how to adapt myself and learn from a European experience in this case.
If we were to take that same concept, because that's a really pivotal concept that you just mentioned, how do I change knowing that my life's gonna change? What if your life was not gonna change and you do get to stay in the same house?
Right.
What can you give yourself permission to let go of that would clear up your space and give you the design space so that you could either paint the walls or you could change out the furniture or you could swap out a rug for something new and just give your whole room a different kind of a look or a different kind of feel? How could you do that living right where you are right now?
And that's exactly what I did when I got the house in the divorce. I was stuck with the house. I wasn't moving. That would be stupid because I was blessed to get it. So I had to find a way to move on without moving out.
Mm,
And so my advice whenever I'm working with a client is, again, let's dream and let's pick one space that's going to give you the biggest sigh of relief. So for some people, that's your private spaces, like your bedroom. What you wake up to needs to be the moment, that pivotal moment in your day. So let's focus on your bedroom. Let's give it a new paint job. Let's get you some new bedding. Let's put the bed on a different wall. Or I even had one client post divorce, because that's obviously a common transition. And she's like, I do not want to sleep in the same bedroom that I used to share with my ex-husband. So we converted her bedroom to being one of the old guest bedrooms. And then she took over the master with its ensuite and made it her home office. So she had this
mhm.
grand palatial work from home space and a cozy refuge of her own for sleeping that had no memories of her past marriage.
Well, and I'm glad you brought that up because we've got a lot of people right now, even in the space that I'm working in, where people are doing that. They're taking the primary suite that has this great big room and a little tiny bed in the middle of it, and it's wasted space. And then they're
Yes,
crammed into what was a little bedroom that they're making their home office. We're doing that exact same thing. We're saying, "What are you doing inside your primary bedroom?" And they're like, sleeping." Like, let's move the bed to a smaller room where you can go in and it's cozy and you can sleep and take that whole entire what was the primary suite and make that the home office where you have room for a studio or bookshelves or a place, with a little sofa where you can sit there and watch TV or take a cat nap or whatever. And we're
exactly.
finding that people are then embracing, like, I didn't move to a new house. I moved my house around and I used either the same furniture or I was able to get that futon that I always wanted that, when nobody's, people in the other room, I can like take a little cat nap and nobody knows, right? But it's using that space in a different sort of way that makes you feel differently about living where you live. I love that.
Exactly. You nailed it. Exactly.
I love that we have the Broken Road Homestead here with a question that says, I'm moving into a new homestead and struggle with organizing barns and outbuildings in the house. have gotten rid of some things, but oh, the struggle. I want to be organized.
Yeah.
This takes me to a question. Is it better to organize the stuff that we have or just to get rid of it?
Well, obviously, there's no blanket answer to that. But if I were going to give a blanket answer, it would be to get rid of it. We all have way more stuff than we can handle. And when people ask me about organizing, so often the first question they ask is, what organizing system should I buy? What containers should I buy? And I'm like, wait a minute, we got to start with a much more important question. What are we organizing? And why are
Mhm.
we holding on to it? Because there's just no reason to organize something that you shouldn't be holding on to in the first place. You're wasting energy and time. And time is the one thing that's not a renewable resource. We want to be really careful and thoughtful about how we're spending our time. This is why a lot of times it's not necessarily worth your effort to try and sell something and squeeze every dollar out of it, because, how long is it going to take you time wise and energy wise to get that money out of that object? And would that time and energy be better spent elsewhere? Again,
Mhm.
no cut and dry answer, but you want to ask yourself these questions. So, get rid of things is always a good idea. Always.
Well, and I love the fact that you were weighing it against your time and your emotions. Because if selling it and creating ads is not your specialty and that's going to cause you a lot of stress, putting it out in your driveway and just taking a picture of it and throwing it up on Nextdoor saying, "Hey, come get it, it's yours," is might be an easier way to go for a lot of people. I know for me, it's a
Absolutely.
lot easier. I don't even want them to come to my door and knock and say, "Hey, I'm here to pick up the free thing." I'm like, Don't interrupt me, just come get it, take it away, and make it disappear."
Exactly.
And I think the longest we've ever had anything in the drive is like 26 minutes is the longest it was ever there. It's like boom, and it's gone.
Yes.
It's like, "Well, that was fast."
And
But we
now
did this
somebody gets to use it and they're so happy.
well, and I'm happy because of the free space that it's cleared up. And what I'm
Exactly.
looking at is my day better? And like you said, if you're working from home, and I know I am, as I'm working from home, if there's stuff all over the desks and there's stuff sitting in the chair and there's stuff over here, when I sit down, my creativity, even though I may be focused at an unconscious level, I'm analyzing all the different stuff and why is this here and how come I didn't move that? And some of the stuff we have in our homes, and I see this every day with the people I work with, they have stuff they're not attached to. It's not an emotional thing. They just never got rid of it and they don't know why.
Yeah.
Like, it's just here, somebody brought it in or somebody left it or whatever. It's just here and I never took the initiative to get rid of it. So then we have all these weird things that are tripping up our unconscious mind and wrecking our creativity, and it's just there for no good reason. And if they walk themselves through it, they'd go, "This is here for no good reason. Let me just get rid of it."
Yeah.
Right? Oh, but that would require effort.
Yeah. Or it's going to disturb somebody else's emotion. You might not have emotion attached to that object, but you're taking on the emotion of whoever gave it to you. Like it was my grandma's, it was my aunt's. My aunt gave this to me. It was a gift from so and so. This person moved to Europe 8 years ago, and I told them I'd hold on to this thing, and they're never coming back. And I have to hold. So many emotional burdens that people
Mhm.
hand us when they hand us stuff, even if it's well meant.
Yeah, when we got married, and this is 21 years ago, my mother gave us a waffle iron. And I can count on one hand the times that I've made waffles since I've been married. We don't eat waffles. It's just
Yeah.
not who we are. And I got rid of it. And so my husband one day said, "Don't we have a waffle iron here somewhere?" And I said, "We did." And I got rid of "Oh, why did you get rid of it? It was perfectly good." It was. But we
And
made
perfectly
waffles
unused.
less than 5 times in 21 years of marriage. Therefore, we don't need it. We haven't missed it for the last 3 years since it's been gone, you know?
Yeah, yeah, and
Buy a
hopefully
waffle if you
somebody
want
got
a
it and is
waffle.
making amazing waffles in their home now.
Yeah. But I
Yeah,
mean, there's so many things that many of us have in our lives, many of us have in our homes that we just have because like you said, somebody that was important to us gave it to us, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it is part of our lives,
yeah,
or should be.
yeah, and we also have to evaluate how many tokens of memory do we need to remember an event or something. One photograph of an event for me will trigger the entire memory. I don't need 100 of photos of the same
Mhm,
event.
mhm.
Maybe one teacup from an entire dish collection will bring back memories of your grandmother. You don't need the whole set. Um, we're thinking about this as we move to Paris, and a lot of the things that we're getting rid of, I'm just taking a photo of it. Sometimes when people are taking the mementos as part of the house cooling, I'm taking a photo of them with the object and then making a little note of why they picked that thing for their house. So we don't have to, like, people feel like they have to get rid of the memory or they have to get rid of grandma when they throw out her dishes, but the memories don't go away, just the stuff, and we clear out room.
Well, moving, and I know moving across the country, you're going to have to make some tough choices. But I know that when we moved from one house to another, we had to make some tough choices. And it
Yeah,
was because we had just bought this whole house full of furniture that fit perfectly where it was. But then when we moved to a new house, even though it was a bigger house, it had walls in different
different
places. And there were
shapes.
windows that you wouldn't put that piece of furniture in front of a window, for example. And so the walls were different and our furniture didn't fit. And we had to then downsize some of our furniture. And I was like, "Oh, but we just paid good money for this," and it was literally a conscious decision. Do I want to get rid of the furniture? But
Yeah,
it didn't fit the design or the layout of the new home. And we went from a
exactly.
home that had lots of little walls on the inside to a great big open space plan, and there were no walls to put that furniture up against. So we ended up getting rid of a lot of furniture and moving to our next home. And we haven't moved yet, but I'm already thinking, would I take this item right now to the next home? And the answer
Yeah.
is no, I wouldn't. So wait a second, why do I have it now?
Yeah.
Right? If I'm not using it now and I wouldn't take it to the next home, can I give myself permission right now to go ahead and let go of that?
And it is in those small moments that I think we do our best work. People try and attack clutter or cleaning the house or remodeling their house. They tend to start with like picturing the entire project, and that's just too big. It's
Mm,
overwhelming for anybody. So we should be taking it one object at a time. Just, if every day you just looked at one object in your house and go, do you belong here or not? And then if
mm,
if once a week the answer was no and you took action on that, that's one thing out of your house every single week. So it doesn't have to be this huge ordeal, and it's frequently more successful if you're building a tiny daily habit than trying to kill yourself doing it all at one time.
mhm. That's a great point. I know that with your clients, you have a lot of conversation about items in your house that are just flat out hard to clean.
Yes.
Tell me about that because as a professional house cleaner, I have a whole laundry list of those where I say, no way, I would never have that in my house because I know how hard it is to clean or how high maintenance it is. What
Well,
are some
I'm
of
excited to
yours?
hear what your list is, but I'll start with mine. So, yeah, so I am a full professional interior designer. And up until recently, I was helping people with full remodels. And obviously, I've gone through my own. And I also had my own housekeeping business when I was in college. That's how I paid for my part of my tuition. So, yeah, it was super fun. I actually loved it because unlike cleaning your own house, when you clean somebody else's house, you can pretend it stays clean in your head for like a whole week. I loved that.
All right, that's how it works.
So, yeah, okay, here's a couple of items. If you're doing a kitchen or bathroom remodel, I like to avoid natural stone. So, like travertine is really inexpensive for bathroom tile. I did that to myself once. Marble is a classic kitchen counter, beautiful. But the problem with both of those is that they're made of the same thing as limestone and they're easy to etch. So, if you
Mhm.
use any kind of a cleaner that has, I think it's a acid high pH, it will etch that surface. So you have to be thoughtful about how you're cleaning it, which I don't want to be thoughtful about how I clean anything in my house.
And can
So,
I stop you right there? Because
yeah.
we're just teetering right on the brink of one of those that just makes me so angry, and that's that's the natural stone backsplashes behind the stove. And I
Mhm.
bid 2 jobs this last week, and I walked in, and they're beautiful homes. And I looked at 'em like, no way." And I'm trying to make my eyes stop from rolling in my head like, you so did not just do that." And I'm thinking spaghetti sauce and bacon grease, and as soon as it hits that stone, game's over.
Yeah.
I can't help you there,
And I don't
Why?
mind.
Why do people do that? All of you guys stop that, please don't. Tell your builders don't do natural stone is a backsplash. All right, back to you.
Well, and it's a problem because sometimes it's inexpensive and sometimes it's just gorgeous. There are
Mm,
things, first of all, there are things you can do with natural stone that are really hard to do with porcelain. And Mother Nature, my first degree was geology. I love rocks. I love what this planet has created. And so there are things you can do, and there are things that natural stone looks like that you just cannot replicate. That's getting better because with the printing technology now, porcelain tile is phenomenal. And if you go with a little bit higher end porcelain tile where they don't repeat the pattern over and over again, which is a real giveaway that it's not natural stone, some of it really looks real. You have to pay attention to your edges, right? Because the cut edge of that tile won't look like a cut edge of a piece of stone. So you have to be a little bit clever about it. But there, with technology now, there's lots of solutions that don't require natural stone, and that's what we want to go with. So marble, travertine, natural, and when I say natural stone, granite isn't nearly as high maintenance. And granite is a word in interior design that is used for basically all natural stone that isn't marble. So it means something specific in geology. Ignore that definition. In interior design, it's just natural stone that isn't marble, basically. That still needs sealing officially about twice a year. Nobody does that. Like nobody. You should. But it doesn't tend to stain and etch the way marble was. So you're not taking as big a risk if you don't seal it. That if you're wanting the lowest maintenance kitchen counter or any counter surface, and you want the stone look, then that's where the quartzes come in. That's a man-made product that doesn't take any sealing or anything. It's made from stone, but it's also got a bunch of resins and stuff in it that make it so you don't have to seal it.
And that's sealed, right? So that it doesn't have the porous effects of
exactly
granite.
Yeah. Now, obviously, anything can be nicked or stained if you work hard enough at it, and
or you're neglectful enough.
Exactly. But it's a pretty good bulletproof surface. And then I also like to shout out laminates because they're not as fashionable right now, but they are so bulletproof. They're fabulous. So laminates for less expensive, super durable counter surfaces. And then, of course, the quartzes are really easy to use. And then in those bathrooms, porcelain and ceramic tile. Just don't install the natural stone, especially in your shower floors and your bathroom floors around the toilet, because urine is an acid and it will etch and stain because it's mostly the boys, but I suppose us women might be making a mess sometimes too. But pee gets on the floor around your toilet, and you're not going to clean that up often enough or frequently enough to keep it from etching. So you get those horrible stains.
And smells.
And smells because it soaks in. Yeah, because it is a porous material. But hey, at least we've stopped putting carpets in the bathrooms, so that's a win.
Every time somebody has those like little covers that go over the toilet seat, and
I grew up with those.
The furry toilet seats, whatever, they send me pictures and they're like, is this still a thing? I'm like, please no, please don't.
Oh, it's a thing. I grew up in Kentucky most of my life, and it is definitely still a thing.
I think my grandmother had one of those when I was young, and at the time it seemed really cool and soft, but now that I know better, I'm like, oh no, then please don't.
I
know. So another please don't for me is the ferns that people put above their kitchen cabinets. And I can tell you
when
how
the cabinets
many
don't go all
homes
the way to
we've
the
gone
ceiling.
into. Yeah. And there's like bacon grease on all the ferns or all the flowers that are up there. And I'm like, why did you do that? And people are like, oh, it looks so beautiful. Well, it does for a week, the first week. And then when the dust starts settling and nobody ever dusts it on time. So literally 4 times a year, we got to pull all those plants out. We got to take them outside. We got to hose and rinse them down and put some suds on them. And we got to give them a full bath.
Yep.
And then they go back to cooking bacon grease and it goes right up there. And then when dust comes into the kitchen or the air conditioning kicks on, it dances around your house and it sticks right on those leaves. Oh, it looks atrocious. Guys, please don't. You're going to have me at your house yelling at you going, oh, no way.
This is really the key to a low maintenance house is you first have to figure out what low maintenance means to you and what you're willing to do. Like I don't keep houseplants because the maintenance of houseplants isn't worth my time and energy. I love them. I'd love to have a jungalow, but it's not worth my time and energy. And that's in large part because travel is too high of a priority for me, and travel and plants are in conflict with each other. Clutter means something different to everybody. I have a rock, geology major. I have my rock collection. I love my rock collection, but that's a lot of tiny, tiny things to dust. So I only display them behind a closed cabinet. So we have to be very thoughtful. Parties. I for me, my home is a social place. I want to have people come over and I want them to drink wine and I want them to eat food and I don't want them worried about spilling on my carpets. So my
Mhm.
carpets are low cost and they have a pattern to them so that they'll camouflage the sins of life. Whereas if you choose a solid colored rug, it's going to show every fuzz, every pet hair, and every stain. And and you either have to live with that or replace it. Whereas if you have a rug that's a bit more camouflaging, it'll live longer in your home and cause you a lot less stress, or at least me.
Well, and I'm glad you brought that up when you said it will camouflage the sins of life. And I think that's really important when we also talk about pet proofing our homes, because there are a lot of people that have pets that have abused the furniture.
Yeah.
And so if you have furniture that is pet friendly, or you have things in your house that are pet friendly, like a rug that will forgive the sins of life and things like that, then it's going to be much more user friendly as far as your home goes. Or if you have a family coming over, you're not at the last minute scrambling, going, "Oh, wait a second, I have to either renovate or replace everything in my house before my relatives come." And
Yes.
I don't want that to happen either, right? We want to create a space that makes you feel safe at home, that makes you feel like, "Oh yes, this is my happy place," and
Exactly.
that makes you want to have people come over. And we have a lot of people that I deal with every day that are embarrassed to have people come to their homes because their homes don't meet that criteria.
Yep.
And so how do we get from I'm in a place where maybe I don't really want my friends and family to come over, or when they come over, I'm just shoving everything into one particular room and slamming the door and hope they don't go in there, to getting to a place where you're like, "Hey, come on in. My house is yours." You know?
I would say that the clients I've worked with who are in that situation, it's usually best when we focus on the public spaces first, give them a big win. And so I'm thinking of a specific client right now. Her husband had lost his job, and he was really, really depressed because that happens for us, right? And she had bought him a big TV, like a bunch of things, just like try and like pep him up, and it wasn't working. And so out of desperation, she actually called me, an interior designer. I have no idea what made her think to do that. And she's like, I don't know what to do. She's like, but I bought this huge TV and now it's eating my living room and everything looks even worse. So we got rid of about half of their furniture because they had too much furniture. We repainted the walls a medium color so this big TV blended better into the walls. So it didn't seem so
Mm.
massive against a big white wall. And what was so cool was the husband, who was really not on board with the project. He's like, whatever, do whatever you want. He was, he's just feeling depressed. He didn't have a big vote or care to say anything. He came to me afterwards and he said, I had no idea how ashamed I did feel, how much that was keeping me from having people over. And I feel so much better and so much lighter because I feel proud when I walk into my living room, when I walk into my house. And then he asked me to help with his home office because it was like it cracked open a little bit of light in the darkness and he saw hope. And so then we did his home office and then he started his own firm in the industry that he'd been fired from. And it was, I
Wow.
know. So so the point is, try to identify one room. Do not tackle the whole house. Tackle just your entry or just your front porch. Like, what's the very first impression that your guests are going to have that sparks shame? Start there. And then once you feel good about that, move to the next step that they're going to see that sparks shame. And what's so wonderful, and what I found when I was making over my own home, is it builds momentum. You have to
Mhm,
have courage to get started, and you have to take on wins that are small enough that you actually win. Because
mhm,
once you have one win, you get hungry for the next one, and the next
mhm.
one, and the next one. And the next thing you know, your whole house is done, and it's amazing.
I wanna tag one tip onto that because I think you're spot on there, and for those people that are like, "I just can't seem to keep my house clean." Once you have a win, and I really wanna tag on to what Rebecca just said because this is really important, you guys. When you have a win, and let's say it's just the little area on your vanity next to where you put your makeup on in the morning. If that area is clean, that's a win, and now keep it clean. So when you're done, just get one of those little tiny Swedish dishcloths. It's like a paper towel sponge thingy, and it's very small. You just wet it, wring it out, and just fold it over the top of your faucet. Leave it there, but it can get wet every time you brush your teeth or you put your makeup on or whatever. Grab that, wet it, and wipe the area down and wipe out the sink. Now you have that win, but now it is a new way of life for you. And so every time you brush your teeth, every time, every morning, every night, when you go to bed at night, just wipe that out. It only takes a couple of seconds, but you're maintaining that area. And then what happens is it starts to edge its way down your vanity. And as you use makeup and you put it away, wipe them off and put them back, and then maintain that area and let it grow a little bit. And what you'll find is without, oh, it's this huge cleaning project, it becomes a little tiny bit that you just kind of edge it over every day, and you make that space a little bit bigger and bigger, and then you maintain that. And it makes it so much easier because suddenly it becomes the new norm. And without changing everything and going, oh, that's so out of my comfort zone, and my comfort zone is all cluttered and messed up and toothpaste dripping off of everything, it becomes your new norm. And
Yeah.
even if it's only one bathroom sink, what happens is you go in the next bathroom, you're like, wait a minute, my new norm is like clean and tidy. And you'll start tidying things up. And like Rebecca said, it starts building momentum. And then you'll find that every day for a year, you've kept your bathroom vanity clean. And you're like, whoa, look at me now, right? You've created a new normal. And that's what I
Yeah.
want to encourage you guys to do. You don't have to live an old lifestyle in the current home that you're living in. Our bodies reproduce themselves like every 7 years from top to bottom. We have a whole entire new cellular structure, our hair, our teeth, our nails, our bones, everything rebuilds itself.
Yeah.
Why are we trapped in the old version of us when we have all the capabilities of becoming something new as our body is regenerating itself and becoming a whole new person, right? Create the new norm and let it evolve with you. I love this, Rebecca. This is just fantastic. Thank you.
Well, and those wins are so important. And in our culture, we are so terrible at celebrating our wins. If we have a list of 10 things on our to-do list, we get one done. All we think about are the 9 that we didn't get done. So in my coaching sessions and also with my accountability partner, we meet every single week. We start with our wins. We've got to take a second to celebrate them. And so if you haven't developed a habit of celebrating your wins, I encourage you to keep a list of things you've accomplished. And anytime you start beating yourself up over what you haven't accomplished, go look at that list and go, oh, yeah, I did do that. And then, yeah, the habit thing is huge. People that keep their house clean aren't they aren't magic. They just have built habits over time. And so for us in our house, we have daily habits that help us keep things clean. We have a rag underneath of our vanity where we wipe out the sink and wipe off the top every time we're done. We keep what we call picnic blankets in the living room. They're these really pretty textiles that we picked up in Spain. And so when we eat on the couch, which is pretty much every night for dinner, we're all, if we're being honest again, first we just spread out that textile on the couch so that we're not worried about spilling and worrying. And then we put the picnic blanket away or throw it in the laundry if we did spill. And it's easy. It's like setting the table, only we're just setting the sofa. There's these little things that help you keep it tidy. And then our other secret is, because I do like to consider my house a social space, we use parties for the deep clean, because you do still need the deep clean. The daily habits don't get the corners. So whenever I know, okay, it's time to host a birthday party, or I want to have, a Friendsgiving, then I get so excited because I know I'm going to deep clean the house before everybody comes over. And I'm doing it for them because my, Swiss military Baptist father's head voices, it's still in my head telling me to. But also, I get a clean house. I get a party. And after the party, I get to enjoy the fruits of my labor. It's awesome.
I love that. I love the inspiration that drives the momentum. That's so
Yeah.
cool.
Like,
You
why
mentioned
clean if you don't have a
earlier,
reason?
just because clean is good. I love cleaning.
Not everybody feels that way,
No, and I'm not a fan of cleaning, as opposed to what everybody thinks. I don't wake up in the morning and go, oh yeah, I get to clean today. But I clean because of the way it makes me feel. And I
Exactly.
like the way that I feel better than how I feel when my house is dirty or cluttered. And so I wake
Exactly.
up every day and I'm not to be arrogant. I'm kind of arrogant, but here you go. I like to wake up and say, I deserve a clean house. And I'm
Yeah.
only going through this life one time. And
Yeah.
so if I get to go through today, today is a gift. How do I want to spend today? And how I want to spend today is I want to spend it in a tidy area that's clean, that makes me feel fantastic. So that when I'm here, if I'm working out of my house, I was here today. I got to spend my whole day in this space. This is the space I designed. This is the space I want to hang out in. This is my
Yeah.
safe place. And I have rules about my house that go far beyond cleaning. This is a no drama house. You do not even get to bring any drama into my house. And so if you come to my house and you're like, whatever, then go outside and go take a walk around the block. And when you're
Yeah.
happy, you come back because
Mhm.
that's not happening here. See you, bye. And I will boot you out my door. Go,
Yeah.
go, goodbye.
'Cause it
And
is
if
about the energy. It's not just the visual clean, it's about the emotional cleanliness too.
well, and is it your happy place? And I love that
Exactly.
that's the name of your business because for me, my home is my happy place. It's a safe place. I
Yeah.
can go outside and get all kinds of crap in the world around me, and there's anxiety and there's frustration and there's, drama and whatever. But when I come home, it's like, whoa, I'm at a happy place,
And
right?
it's the one place we can control, and this is why I want people to understand how much influence and control they have, because we can't control what's happening outside of our front door, but we sure as heck can control what's happening inside our homes. We have that power and that agency.
Well, and that's interesting you brought that up because my husband and I had a really heart to heart honest chat the other day. And he keeps thinking, "Oh, I gotta move. I gotta move." And he's been over at this new neighborhood every day for a couple weeks looking at a new house.
Hmm.
And I gotta move. And then suddenly it was a car. I gotta get me a new car, a new car. Well, there's nothing wrong with the car you have, and there's nothing wrong with the house you have. Why are you moving? And he's like, I just need to move. I need to do this. And we narrowed it down to no, you don't need to move. What you're trying to do is your whole life is about to turn upside down, and you're trying to seek control of it before it turns upside down. His father's on hospice right now, and his father's going to leave us at any moment. And his world is about to dump upside down. And I said, I think what you're experiencing right now has nothing to do with the house and nothing to do with a new car. I think it has everything to do with you're about to lose control over something you have no control over. And I said,
Exactly.
until you resolve that, it doesn't matter where you move, you're going to have the same anxiety and the same fear of loss. Buying something new or bigger or different is not going to change what's about to happen. And what's about to happen is inevitable. You don't
Yeah.
have control over it. You
Yeah.
just don't.
Yeah.
And so having some of those hard conversations with ourselves, they're not pretty and we can't always resolve them. I
No.
hate to say I don't always have an answer at the end of our conversations, right? But having those conversations makes us stop and it gives us pause and says, wait a second. I am happy with the house that I have, or I am happy with the car that I have, and what I have is enough.
Yeah.
Or you can say, like you did, I'm going to stay in the house that I'm in, but I am going to run out to my garage and I'm going to get a different color paint. Whatever happens, happens. And I'm going to give it a whirl because whatever I'm in right now is not the space I want to be in. And we do have control over some things. And I love the fact that you were like, ah, it didn't work out, but I sure gave it my best.
Yeah.
Which
Exactly.
brings me to my next question. You're really great with helping other people through those difficult moments. Tell us about your consulting business and how somebody might work with you. What does a session with you look like?
Yeah, it's actually pretty straightforward at this point because of the upcoming move. So I offer what are called design helplines, and they are an hour-long session by Zoom, and people just bring me their design challenges, their home challenges, and we talk through them. And ideally, we always come up with actionable, practical steps that they can take to solving whatever the problem is that's presenting. And so it sometimes it's about like the emotional, like I just feel icky and I don't know why, and sometimes
Mhm.
it's super specific, like, I need to pick a backsplash and I don't know where to start, you know? So yeah, it's all via Zoom. It's all on my website, happystartsathome.com or seriouslyhappyhomes.com. They both get you there. And easy.
And I think you have an email thing where if somebody was to set up a session with you, you're going to give them somebody a free coaching session or
Yes.
something.
So
Tell us about that.
today, for everybody who decided to make time for us today, I wanted to say thank you. So if you email me at rebecca@seriouslyhappy.com, tell me your favorite takeaway from today, because I always want to know what's resonating with our listeners. So if you tell me your favorite takeaway, one person is going to win a design coaching session with me, a design helpline with me. And then everybody, of course, will get my top 10 practical tips for creating a happy home.
Oh, I love that. That's awesome. So people can just email you and they'll get your 10 free tips.
Yep.
They give you the best takeaway from today. And
Yep.
then one of those people is going to win a free consulting session with you. Oh, I
Exactly.
love that. Awesome. Thank you for that. That's so cool.
Yeah.
So tell me, how does someone pay you? Is it on a retainer? Is it on an as you go
Mm.
session? How does
It's
that work?
just per session. It's all set up to be paid, I believe through Stripe. But yeah,
So
when
all
you
credit
just
card, people pay with a credit card or something
pick your
online?
date,
I
you
love
pay
it.
the fee, you tell me a little bit about your project, and then I show up and help.
Oh, I love that. That is so awesome. Thank you for that. All right, you
Yeah.
guys. Now we have time for questions. This is one of my favorite parts. You guys have asked some really great questions. We have Francine here who says, Francie, I'm sorry. I keep good order on the surface over the old clutter. I'm no longer the hoarder, but I can't face the mess. What advice would you give to Francie?
Oh, I'm not sure I understand her question. It
Still,
sounds like she's
still
gotten rid of
struggling
the
with
clutter.
tidying up.
Yeah. My first question, if I were working with her, would be, where is the feeling of it being a mess coming from? So, first question I always want to know is, do you feel like it's a mess, or is somebody else telling you it's a mess? Because we have to remember, this is our house, not our mom's house, our sister's house, our neighbor's house, our friend's house. So first, I always want to pause and find out, where is the feeling that it's not good enough coming from? And then if it's coming from inside of you, then what would it take to not feel that way? What's one tiny shift, or one big shift even, that would flip that for you? So it's always about asking yourself questions first. Where is this feeling coming from? Is it my feeling, or is it somebody else's burden that I'm carrying? And then, what is one small action that would move me closer to the feeling I want to have? Don't try and solve it all at one time. Just try and inch yourself closer to what happiness means for you.
I love that. Oh, that was a good answer.
Mm.
All right, our next one. Kaylee says, so do you deep clean after you host or before?
I do it before, which kind of sounds counterintuitive, because yes, I definitely let my guests traipse all through my house and make a mess. But the thing is, by deep cleaning, all the surfaces are super easy to just spot clean right after the party. And my husband and I love it, because within half an hour of everybody clearing out, you would never know there was a party. So by deep cleaning before there was a party, everything already had its home. It was already in its home. It's very easy to put things back in their home, and the surfaces are already clean enough that a quick swipe gets me back to normal. Plus, it gets me past that moment where, after we've deep cleaned, and then like 2 hours later, my husband, leaves the toilet seat up again or something. I'm like, oh, can't I just have 24 hours of clean? Well, by having the party be the reason that things aren't perfect, it's a happy thing, not a annoyed thing. It's all
There
mental
you
games
go.
I play with myself, you guys.
We also entertain, and one of the secrets I found to cleaning up after a party, because we always do a lot of food. I love the food, and food displays everywhere in the house. Everywhere you go, there's food and treats and fun stuff to eat. But I always purchase these to-go boxes. And so when the party's over, everything goes in a to-go box, and we send everybody home with to-go stuff. And
Brilliant.
anything that I want to keep then goes in freezer packs inside the freezer, so that they're all ready to pull out and put in the microwave and eat if somebody wanted to have a meal for themselves. So it's not
Beautiful.
like putting big bowls of food away and then you got to sort through it later and figure it out. We do that all as we put the stuff away from the party, and like instantly we've got food for the next couple of weeks. And I always like to
Exactly.
overcook so that I have extras, and then I get to put on a few extra pounds going, well, it's just leftover party food that can't go to waste.
Oh, those calories never count anyway.
No, party calories don't count.
I
All
love,
right.
oh, just real quick, we do potlucks a lot, and
Uh-huh.
because I like to keep it easy, and the rule is, if you bring it, you take it home. Otherwise, you're not invited to the next potluck. And people laugh about it, but
Oh,
it's a great way to make sure you don't end up with a bunch of fridge clutter that you don't need.
Okay, so what we do is we buy those, and you can get these at Costco. They're like the to-go boxes that you see like at a restaurant. And so we buy those and we put those out at the end. And instead of somebody taking home the whole casserole or the whole crock pot full of stuff, we let everybody
That's
make their own meals to
perfect.
go. And then everybody gets to sample each other's food and then take it with them. And that way there's no fridge clutter, but everybody got like their to go meal or their lunch for the next 2 or 3 days
I love
or
it.
whatever. So that's fun. All right, we have a comment from you guys. Our time is running out. Oh, all right. One last question. Live with the blue butterfly says, "Hello. I was wondering what to use to shine laminate floors." We'll throw this one over to you, Rebecca.
Well, laminate, we're talking about LVP or Pergo. There's two different kinds of laminate, but basically the top surface is just plastic. So you can wipe it down with pretty much anything you want. There's no polishing, there's nothing going to soak into it. You're not going to restore your floors. So I'd probably just end up using Simple Green or maybe a Pine Sol, but Simple Green's my go-to cleanser for any surface that doesn't need anything special. What about you? Because you're the actual cleaning expert here.
So LPP flooring, I would use just water and 1 drop of Castile soap, and that's going to shine your floors really nice. It's going to clean them, but like Rebecca said, it doesn't need a lot. And so pH neutral, I'm going to keep it really simple, and I'm just going to dust it, dry dust it. When it needs to be damp mop, just a damp microfiber mop head that it's got water on it and 1 drop of Castile soap. And don't not a squirt of Castile soap because it will make your floor sudsy. 1 drop in a little mop bucket. That is all you need. Mark my words, 1 drop and it will shine your floors, make them look spectacular. And like Rebecca said, keep it simple. Don't overthink it.
Yep.
All righty, that is it for today. Oh man, I'm so sad our time is up. But you guys get on the email, send Rebecca your comments. We design win your design coaching session, Rebecca at seriouslyhappy.com.
Can't
Rebecca,
wait to
this
hear
is
from
so
y'all.
Oh, you guys, this is so fantastic. Thank you guys for joining us today. I've really enjoyed this. And I will see you again next time on the same network. We meet every Thursday. And this is actually the Clutter Corner show today. We just happened to stream it also to our Ask a House Cleaner audience because we got lots of friends here that are joining us today. But Clutter Corner Thursday at same time, same place next week. So thank you, Rebecca, and we will see you guys again soon.